Let's go.
Sunderland travelled to Fratton Park to meet newly promoted Portsmouth, who had been promoted from League One as champions, losing only 5 games and amassing a haul of 97 points in doing so. Life in the Championship had given them a tough start, though, playing Leeds, Luton and Middlesbrough, although they had been only seconds away from putting a win over both Leeds and Borough in those games. And they had other reasons to feel hopeful today, as Portsmouth have beaten Sunderland in 9 of the last 10 games played at Fratton Park, and Sunderland have had 5 men sent off in the last 12 of these fixtures. But this is a Sunderland team with some added steel about them. Regis Le Bris' team arrived on the south coast having conceded no goals, and with the lowest XG in the division. Pompey, meanwhile, had conceded the largest, and combined that with being the bottom team in the division for entries into the final third. So, the league's tightest defence met the league's shyest progressive side, and it all seemed to point to a Sunderland win. With Dan Neil suspended, Alan Brown came into the midfield, but in an attacking role, with Job dropping back to play the defensive midfielder. And Dan Ballard was restored to the starting lineup, courtesy of an ankle injury to Aji Elise. New forward signing Wilson Isodor made the bench, but Eliza Mayanda kept his berth in the starting lineup, and we were off. Thanks to those of you who last time chose to hit the super thanks button at the bottom right underneath this video to show your appreciation of my efforts. 2-1 again, Scott Watson, Cameron Phillips, West End Watch, Mark Dammy, and Linus from RTG. My love to you all. And right from the start, it was Mayanda who was pressuring from the front. And big bad Alan Brown set about justifying his place in an attacking role in the midfield by refusing to give Norris an inch when he collected the ball, giving him a knee in the face instead.
Fortunate the keeper, you could say Alan Brown's a couple of yards away and he smashed it at him. His arm is out. Oh, cheek there, come up.
Well, I wonder if that was the collision between himself and Alan Brown.
Yeah, I think so. One of them.
For most of the first half, Sunderland sat in a mid-block today, wary of Portsmouth's propensity to pump it long. Portsmouth at times chose to play it long today.
Come off that right-hand side, just fizzed the lovely ball into Alan Brown.
Sometimes they were forced into it when Sunderland pressed, though.
Nine's gone down holding his face there.
And sometimes it was because Sunderland simply closed off the middle of the park with their defensive structure and there were no other options.
Towler. Arm Pack.
And so down the sides is the only option for Portsmouth. And when it goes down there, Luke O'Nien and big bad Alan Brown simply crush the isolated play. The result of this was that Portsmouth were extremely limited in their chances today, recording only 2 shots on goal for the entire game. The first came from this free kick. Straightforward header for Pato to collect. And the second and last shot on target for Portsmouth was this long-range effort from Matt Ritchie.
Floats all the way through to Anthony Patterson.
And that was all they got. A worry for Pato. He's not getting any game practice at all these days. He simply doesn't have to make a save. Sunderland conserved a lot of energy with this defensive structure and looked to break up the Portsmouth play and counter, as Sirkin does here.
Swanson. It's then Sirkin who intercepts it. He's looking to get Mayenda away. Mayenda has got round the other side of the defender, but he couldn't take control of
and that very likely is a penalty for Mayenda. I don't know. He's clearly being pulled, but Towler does get his foot in front of Mayenda and is now first to the ball. Tough call overall. Out of possession, Pompey did try to press us. Here is a loose first touch that is a trigger for Portsmouth to press, but just look at the skill of Job, Rigg and Roberts to play out of this.
Nyan.
And it was poor Pompey pressing that led to Sunderland's first goal. It begins here as players reposition themselves. Rigg runs past Roberts and Paddy instructs him to stay in this position while he rotates and goes short into Rigg's usual slot. Ogilvie initially looks to track Roberts, but Marlon Pack instructs him to stay back and mark Rigg. Pack himself, though, is now lost. Initially continuing to track Rigg, he realises all too late that Roberts has come short and created an overload. One person who has noticed is Trey Hume, who plays a lovely ball to Roberts. Pack sells himself short again by pressing Roberts far too late to make up for things. And from this point onwards, Portsmouth are never going to have enough men in front of the ball to defend the attack.
Roberts gives it back to Trey Hume. Chris Rigg now with the ball. Finds Trey Hume again. Hume puts it across Mayenda! And it's gone in!
It's an own goal.
It's an own goal!
Straight off the chest.
It's a good save from Mayenda's shot, and Portsmouth might consider themselves unlucky to concede this own goal, but that does it for Sunderland. In all, this sequence of play shows just how important it is for teams to defend as a unit, and how poor pressing by Portsmouth is seized on by Sunderland to cut them open in seconds. This is the result of skillful players seeing things develop and change. And it really shows just how clearly Regis has been able to instill his style of play into the players in such a short space of time. From here on in, there was simply no looking back. Rigg linked well with Roberts in attack.
Come on, Chris Rigg.
Yeah. Now Roberts keeps on coming. Roberts was waiting for
And Mayenda was alert.
Mayenda doing well himself. Roberts, back to Mayenda. Was he offside? The assistant says no.
Rigg was so tenacious he simply refused to let anything go, crunching into the tackle here to win the ball back.
Looking for Rigg.
I said against Sheffield Wednesday that teams would be wary of our corners and free kicks to the back post, having seen such success in them. And so when our first corner came, Dennis Serkin retreated out of the set piece entirely, and Portsmouth defenders were subsequently lost and confused. It's got to be tremendously unsettling for a team defending set pieces to plan for the entire week for certain players and moves, and then for that to be lost instantly, wondering what will happen and what to do. Sunderland started to turn the screw now, as the riot act of Rigg, Roberts and Hume continued to expose the Portsmouth left, nearly putting Brown through here.
Trey Hume. Roberts. Oh, lovely ball. Brown!
The flag gone up? It has, yeah.
It's a lovely inverted ball, though, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
do you know what? Fakes.
And Portsmouth simply looked to have run out of options as we turned the screw on our press.
Portsmouth finding themselves possession in these situations quite a lot, and they're not doing
that,
anything.
sort of caught in between, trying to play. I mean, obviously, I'm guessing they're working on the training ground, trying to get it into Pack and trying to get it into Dazelle.
Brown picked off another pass and Mayenda had another chance.
He's Brown for Sunderland. Alan Brown looking for Mayenda, who might get there, left foot. Has that gone for the corner? Yes, it has.
But the half rolled to a close with little more action when really we should have been pressing our case much stronger. Perhaps that was precisely Regis Le Bris' instructions at half-time, more urgency and power. Well, the players duly delivered as the second half started where Sunderland left off the first, with Job pouncing on loose Pompey passing and very nearly putting Mayenda through.
Sharp, here he goes again, he's almost in.
Well, Job striding forward.
It falls to Mundle in space, who attacks the box.
Goes onto his left-hand side, he win the corner, referee says goal kick right in front of the Sunderland fans who disagree.
Keep at it, son. Moments later, it was Mayenda holding up the ball well to spread it wide for Patrick Roberts, who cuts inside to get the shot off.
It off to Chris Rigg. Here's Roberts now for Sunderland. Inside the area. Roberts.
Patrick spent the entire first half cutting inside.
Roberts is still going. It opens up for the shot. Roberts keeps on coming. Roberts was waiting.
On each of these occasions, he steps inside and provides the danger. This was the 6th time in a row he had done so. And so 1 minute later,
Rigg under pressure. Lovely stuff from Chris Rigg. Releases.
On a counter, when the ball again comes to him, the defender leans inside and Paddy has the space to go right for an inch-perfect cross to Mayenda round the back.
Pulls one back. Mayenda. Heavy touch, but it still goes in.
Do you know what?
In fact, big bad Alan Brown had ensured the goal on 2 counts. Firstly, by crushing the defender, and then by tapping the goal in, just to make sure.
Back now. It's not offside. It's got the keeper there. And
It's definitely Brown's goal. Yep.
It's got Dazelle, isn't it? I think it is on the touchline there.
That's both goals today that Robert had a hand in creating with a change of play at just the right moment. He really has started the season on fire. Rigg continued to show confidence and skill beyond his years. Such has been his performance this season that I find myself remembering he's just turned 17 and that this is the football of a literal child. He simply can't be mortal, can he?
Rigg pings the ball across the field to Romain Mundle.
Then moments later, the little god seized on a heavy touch by Andre Dazelle, and Sunderland broke again.
Big challenge in the middle. Chris Rigg it is who gets it back for Sunderland. This is Mayenda. He's got Mundle to the left.
Mayenda timing his pass to Mundle, who rifled home for the third.
3-0 Sunderland!
Comes from Chrissy Rigg. Great challenge in the middle of the park. On Callum Lang, I think it is.
And it's that
And on
man
the
again.
counter, that's what it's all about, on the counter-attack. Getting bodies forward, Mayenda does well, gets his head up.
Mousinho responded immediately with 4 substitutes for Portsmouth to try and change the narrative, but they were to see no improvement, with Callum Lang epitomising their situation with this desperate cross.
Lane gets something on it. Goes all the way through. There's Mundle. He's one of those guys who's full of confidence.
Frustration was creeping into Pompey's play now,
Start in this
Pulling his
Sunderland
arm off
side.
there, yeah.
Look at that. That's a yellow card as well. If he's going to...
and at the other end, Sunderland were desperate to keep a clean sheet. Watch Luke O'Nien and Dennis Serkin double up here in defence, and the delight of O'Nien at preventing the cross.
His foot round it. Will be a corner for Portsmouth.
And just look at Dan Ballard throwing himself in front of the ball to keep that clean sheet.
And then, yeah, great challenge. Callum Lang, isn't it? Dan Ballard committed. Gets the block.
And on the counter, Sunderland still presented a threat.
Was there. Mundle with the second. Kamara under pressure. Mundle holds his hands up and Sunderland could break here with Patrick Roberts. Eliza Mayenda is through the middle. Can he get on the end of this? He does. Mayenda...
Although Mayenda holds on to this one too long, he should lay it off to Job here.
Got support there in Job. Still trying to do it himself.
And so with the game won, Regis made his substitutes. Wilson Isodor came on for Mundle and Giancarlo Poveda for Patrick Roberts. And the fresh legs on each wing helped Sunderland to continue to stretch Portsmouth. Isodor initially going free here.
And gets the free kick.
Oh,
No, he doesn't.
The ref put the whistle to
Yeah,
his
he did.
mouth there and then wave play on.
And then Poveda racing up in support here.
Poveda for Sunderland. Gets the corner.
Ball.
Isodor in particular looks a tidy player, easily holding up the ball here to release Rigg at the right time.
Looks composed on the ball. Finds Chris Rigg with a good pass.
And Rigg returns the favour 5 minutes later, with Wilson showing great skill to keep the ball in play. And then he totally ghosts Kuseni Yengi to collect the ball with ease.
Just took it back so easily.
Glided back into
Did,
shape there,
didn't
didn't he? Regained possession.
In the meantime, Rusine came on for Mayenda with just 5 minutes to go.
He'll be frustrated that he hasn't got the goal, really.
Swanson tried to take out his frustration on Dennis Serkin, but Dennis Serkin has been pumped full of super soldier serum in the close season, so you're simply not knocking him off the ball.
I enjoyed that, Dennis. He had a couple of...
And from the subsequent free kick, he nearly got on the score sheet again.
Second on the spin. Over the
But
top.
the drama wasn't over, as in the final minute of normal time, Luke O'Nien headed into his own goal to erase the chance of Sunderland keeping a clean sheet in the first 4 games of the season for the first time ever in their history. It's amazing, really, that the game is now all but finished, romping to a 3-1 victory. And here he is, gutted about not keeping a clean sheet. What a great attitude for this team to have. Perfection is the target. And that was the game. Dan Ballard taunted the home fans.
To the back post. Ballard gets something on it. Still in play. Paddy Lane crosses it. Is the referee going to let the corner go in? No, that's it.
Championship season.
And Regis, what did you think about that performance?
Yes, we are happy, and
I'll see you next time, everyone. Follow me on X, support me on Patreon, or just spread the word.